It's incredible. Where are they all coming from?
Everywhere.
I can't believe it. Why?
Don't ask me, ask them. I'm running for my life myself.
Yeah, but they're all following you.
No, they ain't. I'm just in front.
Yeah, Kristofferson. Nobody followed anybody in the 70s unless you were going to the bathroom and they knew you had cocaine on you. The year was 1978. A major motion picture based on the novelty trucking song Convoy was released into theaters, starring Kristofferson, Ali McGraw, and directed by in-decline macho auteur Sam Peckinpah. Usually I like to try to set the scene for the year the movie we're doing come out in, but there's actually nothing that sets the scene about 1978 for this podcast about Convoy more than Convoy itself.
Yeah, Convoy is about as 1978 as you can get.
I mean, I guess you could say everything smelled like cocaine because all you could smell was the cocaine you were currently cocaining into your cocaine holes.
All right, enough about the drugs.
Right turn, Clyde.
What they're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Redneck Matinee.
It ain't gonna hurt.
You got the one snowman. I'll be bound and down.
Hey there, everybody. This is Jackie Bros.
Folks, people, this is Dunlap. Welcome to Redneck Matinee, the Convoy edition.
Yeah.
Jackie, William Dale Freeze Jr.
Who?
Could possibly be Fries. Worked in an advertising agency in Omaha.
Uh-huh.
With Chip Davis.
Who?
Who would later go on to start Mannheim Steamroller out of a fanatical love of destroying Christmas.
What?
But first, he and Fries would need to create a folk hero out of a bread commercial.
Well, trucking old home, I was working the blizzard. She is colder than a Minnesota well digger's gizzard. I was up to my drive shaft in 18 inches of slush. Heavy white stuff. I had a jackknifing rig that drove like a sled, had a busted chain and a load of bread for the old home filler up and keep on a trucking cafe.
Bill Fries did the voice for McCall. That's him you hear talking there at C.W. McCall. They were actors playing C.W. McCall, lip-syncing the words in the commercial. Look these commercials up on YouTube. It's basically like a regional commercial star got big enough to capitalize on a national trend. That's how we got to Convoy. It'd be like if Ernest made a rap song.
No.
Did he make a rap song?
He might have, but I don't remember it, and I don't want to remember it.
These commercials were popular enough that Davis and Fries made actual popular records, Jackie, before Convoy. They took a reworked version of the commercial song called Old Home Filler Up and Keep on a Trucking Cafe to number 19 on the U.S. country charts in 1974. They followed that up with Wolf Creek Pass, Classified, and Black Bear Road hitting number 12, 13, and 24 on the country charts. Wolf Creek Pass hit number 40 pop. You remember any of them songs?
Can't say that I do.
And then came Convoy, released right before Christmas 1975. Convoy, you remember the song Convoy, don't
Well,
you?
yeah, I know the song Convoy.
Zoomed
yes.
up to number one country and pop and was a hit all over the world.
Yep.
Not to be confused with Around the World with the Rubber Duck, which was an actual sequel to Convoy that has trucks driving on the ocean and a lot of ill-advised accents. Bill Fries would actually go on TV shows playing C.W. McCall on the talk and variety TV show circuit. He would just have a CB set on stage next to him and hold a CB radio and just kind of do the song and do all the different himself, just standing up there.
Hey, when we sit around the filling station, we like to kick tires and tell stories. And here's the most bodacious storyteller of them all, C.W. McCall.
That was George Goober Lindsey on Hee Haw from 1976, introducing C.W. McCall, who would perform his song Crispy Critters by lip-syncing and holding a broom on a gas station set. He also, on YouTube, look this up, Jackie, he's on in the diner with Gaylord Sartain and Lulu Roman just staring at him as he performs Convoy. He's got a CB set up there on the counter. He's sitting on a stool. He also co-hosted the Mike Douglas Show.
Oh, yeah. Now, you mentioned George Goober Lindsey, who also is connected to somebody else involved with the movie Convoy, and that would be actor Ernest Borgnine.
He was friends with George Goober Lindsey. For years, George Goober Lindsey's friendship helped shake him out of a suicidal funk. So proclaims Ernest Borgnine in his autobiography, Ernie, that we ordered off of eBay specifically for this podcast.
I tell you what, that George Goober Lindsey helped out many a soul. Me, many a time I felt bad in my life, and I turned on Hee Haw, and there it was, and I felt better. I can't imagine having him right there with you in the room.
Going to golf tournaments.
Yeah.
McCall had a number 2 country hit in 1977 with Roses from Mama. Chip Davis would go on to make a gajillion dollars, desecrating the bloody corpse of Santa Claus. Freeze became the mayor of Ouray, Colorado in 1985, a town of 750 people in southwestern Colorado. As of this recording, Jackie, Bill Freeze, C.W. McCall, is still living at age 90.
I tell you what, there's a lot of folks here that's still living outside of Ernest Borgnine who lived into his 90s. How old was he?
He was in his 90s.
He made it to his 90s, but we still got Kris Kristofferson.
Allie McGraw.
She's still with us. And then, of course, Sam Peckinpah. He no
cut down
around.
early.
No,
cut down early.
Yeah.
And also, while we're talking about trucking songs, I do want to get in a plug for Cletus Maggard's song, The White Knight, which was another country trucking hit. This is what happens when you start researching a podcast about Convoy, featuring a fast-talking character, nom de plume for a former ad man that I thought was a Convoy ripoff, but actually was just another CB bandwagon jumper that was also released in late 1975 and also was a number 1 country hit, also in early 1976, separated by Convoy by only 2 weeks. This time I've heard her more than she loves me by Conway Twitty, and sometimes by Bill Anderson and Mary Lou Turner come in there right between. That's the beginning of 1976 country pop music charts, Jackie.
Oh, yeah.
Convoy. This time I've heard her more than she loves me by Conway Twitty, which I'll admit I'm not familiar with.
Not one of the ones I know well either.
And sometimes by Bill Anderson and Mary Lou Turner. But then The White Knight was back in the number 1 position, a trucking song, just in time for Valentine's Day. Who says romance is dead?
10-4 back door. Put the pedal to the metal and let it roar.
That was a number 1 country hit.
It was?
Jackie, 1970. It was.
Okay.
Number 1 from coast to coast.
Yeah.
The White Knight by Cletus Maggard.
Can't say I remember that one too much.
What did you remember? YovnoC?
What is it?
You remember Cletus Maggard YovnoC? Folks, when am I ever going to get the chance to play YovnoC?
When I couldn't believe the call we received, it give us such a thrill. I want everybody to get the hammer down, because I understand the front doors are at 5-5, but most everybody else is running in reverse just to keep up. I've asked my brother Billy to investigate this situation. Isn't this silly, Billy? We're going to have to get him together. Sit down by the fire. Come back on that, Mr. President.
So that's Cletus Maggard with YovnoC, which is obviously a Convoy in reverse because they're going the speed limit. That's so slow.
I get it.
Double nickeling it on the. That's Cletus Maggard.
It's supposed to be funny.
I mean,
Jimmy Carter on the CBs, talking to truckers, is kind of funny. Yeah,
they would have hated it.
Oh, no trucker would enjoy that. No.
So that is a little bit of what was going on in the country charts in 1976. By April of 1976, Convoy had been such a huge hit that articles were already appearing in newspapers that producer Robert Sherman of the Missouri Breaks, you ever seen Missouri Breaks?
That's one of the westerns Marlon Brando made, yeah.
Oh, Marlon Brando. Yep. In this article about all the CB movies coming out of Hollywood, there's an anecdote about a few industry figures are so taken with the medium that they are fiddling with the dials in their off hours as well. I bet they are. Chief among them is Marlon Brando.
Wow.
Marlon Brando likes CB. Chief among them is Marlon Brando, who on a clear night can be heard broadcasting from his Hollywood Hills home under a variety of code names and assumed accents.
him doing a little show, pretty much, for the truckers, I guess.
Oh, I hope he recorded those and they come out someday.
Entertaining them for free to keep them up as they drive and make the haul. Good on him. I don't guess nobody paid him for that.
Do you think anybody was ever like, is this Marlon Brando?
It depends on what kind of voice he's doing. I don't know.
Some of them were probably better than others.
Yeah.
Most of them were probably pretty bad. In October 1976, there was an article called Movie Makers Get into CB Action, and AP reporter Bob Thomas lists the CB-based movies going into production, Smokey and the Bandit, which, by the way, producer Mort Engelberg describes as urbane material, not designed for people in pickup trucks.
What?
This is after he describes the whole plot of the movie. You know the plot of Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah,
like,
well,
go get the Coors
and
then
bring it back.
Chase a cop into the water.
And the wedding and all that.
So he goes through the whole thing, and then the reporter says, still, the producer insists this is urbane material, not for people in pickup trucks. It's like he works for the Trump administration. Just Citizens Band, starring Paul LeMat, who, quote, made an impression in Aloha, Bobby and Rose. Did you ever see Aloha, Bobby and Rose?
I don't know what it is.
And that producer Robert Sherman of the Missouri Breaks is, that sounds like a good band, the Missouri Breaks.
It's just a Marlon Brando Western, one of his, the three that he made, yeah.
Is preparing Convoy, based on the song, which sold 6 million records throughout the world. CB's not a major part of the plot, but it is a useful device. He expects to start filming in New Mexico next March. I got one article that says mid-1976. There was an April 76 article announcing that Sherman was moving ahead on Convoy. So pretty soon after Convoy hit number one, Hollywood was already pouncing to turn this hilarious kids song into a Sam Peckinpah film.
Yeah. How many movies do you think they made out of songs? Somebody should do one of these on that.
Well, I got to do my Cletus Maggard podcast, so I'm going to be
I was
really
telling somebody else
that.
we ain't got time to do it. I know I ain't going to do it.
So before they had some of these articles when they're talking about the production of it, say they're casting a major Hollywood star, but the director Sam Peckinpah has been attached. So I guess Peckinpah was attached pretty early on, but I don't think he wanted to do it because they fired him off of it during the editing, but they got to keep his name. So basically it was a problem the whole time. He didn't want to do it. They didn't want him to do it. James Coburn had to step in.
I don't think there's anybody that was wanting to do it while they were there doing this, from what we understand. And this is when Peckinpah, this is the last that, he's all drugged and all that stuff. Well, don't come out of Australia. He was trying to get fired, yeah.
And normally he'd fought it, I think, but he was... well, here's a story in Kristofferson, The Wild American, unauthorized by Stephen Miller. For all Peckinpah's faults, Kristofferson admired the director, and during the making of Convoy, he did his best to support him in the face of criticism from the film company bosses. However, on one occasion, this backfired. At a crisis meeting where it seemed possible that Peckinpah might get fired, Kris stood up and said that if Sam was fired, he'd quit the film too. I guess I was hot enough then that they gave a shit. Afterwards, I'm walking back to my truck, and Peckinpah comes out and says, "God damn you, you stupid son of a bitch."
All right.
That's what Sam Peckinpah...
I know it, but still.
I was almost out of here, and you dropped me back in this shit. Sam Peckinpah died at age 59.
I guess Kristofferson felt like if I got to sit through this, what you said, then you are too,
Lots of good actors in this movie, including Kristofferson. Oh, you know that outlaw country, Rhodes scholaring, rugby playing, helicopter piloting, recording studio janitor.
Wrote some good songs, yeah.
Wrote a lot of good songs. He gave, there's a story, he gave Johnny Cash a bunch of demos. He'd slip them in June Carter Cash's purse. She'd take them. She'd say, "Johnny, he give me another demo." And Johnny Cash would open the door, throw that shit in the lake.
Didn't want to hear it.
Just didn't, first of all, does not care about the fish. I like the idea of Johnny Cash just throwing whatever he doesn't like in the fish. Meatloaf again, right in the damn fish lake.
Throw it in the fish lake. Throw it all out there. Yeah. Hey, I don't want to hear no demos from no damn janitor. Right in the fish lake. Yeah.
And then Kris Kristofferson, who was in the National Guard. I guess this part is true. Helicopter piloting. Landed a helicopter pilot on Johnny Cash's yard on the lake. And he says Johnny Cash wasn't there. Johnny Cash says he come out and said, "What are you doing?" And Kris Kristofferson got out of the helicopter with a beer in one hand and some songs in the other.
Well, that's making an impression right there, yeah.
Kris Kristofferson says, "You got to have both hands to drive one of them things." But I like the idea of him driving around the skies of Nashville, half loaded, drinking beer, throwing the cans in Johnny Cash's lake. Somebody needs to clean that lake out. So Kris Kristofferson is in it. You got damn old Burt Young from the Rocky movies.
Rocky, that's Rocky brother-in-law. Yeah, he was also in Chinatown, and then he also went on to. You remember the Rodney Dangerfield did the diver, pool diver. It's funny. He's in that one too.
Wait, what is it called?
It's what is it? He go back to school. That's it. Back to school.
Oh, I thought there was. I was hoping there was a whole Rodney Dangerfield movie where he was just diving into pools. But I guess that's what we remember.
There's a lot of that in this. He has to go to class too, but he's a Burt Young's in that one.
You got Ernest Borgnine.
Now, he did a lot of great movies. Ernest Borgnine, he got famous, won the Oscars, Academy Awards for a movie called Marty.
Yep.
And then from there on, never quit working. He's in every which a thing. Yeah, he was in Escape from New York or something like that.
Escape from the Boat.
Escape from the Boat. He was in that one too. Yep.
He made it to his 90s.
Yeah.
And when they asked him on, it was Fox and Friends, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
What's the secret to your longevity? Well, let's just play the clip.
To the show, but real quickly, you're 91 years old. You look fantastic. You look like you're in your late 60s, early 70s. What's the secret?
I don't dare tell you.
No meat. You don't eat meat.
I masturbate a lot.
Okay, I think. Thank you, Ernie. That was great.
I actually heard that.
I heard it too, and it gave me an idea that I might live to be 200 years old. Jackie, I masturbate a lot. Jackie,
all right.
We paid for this Ernest Borgnine biography, so I might as well at least read a few passages from it where he's talking about the movie Convoy. Ally McGraw had to have things explained to her a number of times because Sam was very particular in what he wanted from her. He never really gave me direction. I don't know why, but he just let me do my own thing. I'd say, "Is it okay for you?" He'd answer, "If it isn't, I'll tell you." I'm not kidding. That was it. Once I had to do a scene in a police cruiser. Before we shot it, I went to Sam to get a few instructions. He said, "What the fuck do you want?"
Hey.
I said, "I just want to ask you something about what you want me to do." "What I want," he said, "is for you to, Christ's sake, go out there and do the scene." When Kris Kristofferson saw Convoy at the opening, he said to me, "I don't remember being in this picture."
Drugs.
He was under the weather most of the time, if you catch my drift. Yeah. Oh, yeah, drugs, yeah. But he had enough charm and sincerity to pull it off. Speaking of which, Sam missed a few days, too, for the same reason. While he was recuperating, actor James Coburn came in and did a little directing work. That just happens. That did happen a lot. In the late 70s, James Coburn would just show up and take over pictures all the time.
Get him on the phone. Get James Coburn over here.
Yep. Very healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy. He also says, talking about his friendship with George Goober Lindsey, I hate to keep harping on this, but to this day, I think that George Lindsey is one of the greatest guys in the world.
Oh, yeah.
He even convinced me to do a guest appearance on a TV show he was working on at the time, Hee Haw, with Roy Clark and Buck Owens and all those Hee Haw honeys. Yeah. We got to look that up.
Yeah.
But most importantly, he says, "My hand to God, George Goober Lindsey turned down the part of Mr. Spock on TV Star Trek."
Right.
That's what he said. The role that made Leonard Nimoy famous.
I don't think that's true. I'm just going to say right now, Ernest Borgnine may think that's true, but I don't think that's a real thing.
Let me ask you, do you think that Ernest Borgnine just got mixed up? Or do you think that George Goober Lindsey lied to his friend Ernest Borgnine
I'm going to say
years?
Ernest Borgnine got mixed up. He also talked about masturbating on Fox. I don't know how old he was when he wrote this book. Let's not make George Goober Lindsey out to be a liar. Let's stay away from that.
Hey, nobody ever tell Ernest Borgnine I lied about the Spock thing, okay?
Well, he might have done it as a joke because he's funny, but he wouldn't have lied any other reason.
Listen, that is a fantastic joke. Also, poor Ally McGraw.
Good Lord.
You can tell just from that brief mention in the Ernest Borgnine autobiography that her life during the filming of Convoy was pure hell.
Now, any woman in the midst of Kris Kristofferson, Sam Peckinpah, and Ernest Borgnine, if that's all you got around you, no woman's going to like it.
She was Oscar nominated for Love Story. She's been in like 13 movies. She has 13 roles on IMDb, and one is a half season of Dynasty. She was killed in the Moldovan Massacre. You remember the Moldovan Massacre, Jackie?
I never
when
did
they gunned everybody on Dynasty down, like, who will live? She did not live.
All right.
Former model, married to Robert Evans. This poor woman.
Good
she was
God.
married to Robert Evans, Steve McQueen. She's in 2 Sam Peckinpah movies. How did she not become a terrorist?
I'm just grateful she's still alive. She lived through all that, and she's still with us. God bless her, yeah.
Do you think everybody who lives for a long time masturbates a lot?
All right.
Did Ernest Borgnine break down the secret of longevity to us, and we just don't like to think of our grandparents being that way?
Don't want to think about anybody from a movie Convoy doing anything like that. Back then or nowadays, either way, I don't want to think about it.
Starring as Spider Mike was Franklyn Ajaye, young comic from the Comedy Store scene in Los Angeles. Keenan Ivory Wayans called him the Miles Davis of comedy, but he did have a jazz-like, understated delivery, a free-flowing musicality, a counterpoint to the manicness of his idols like Richard Pryor.
Now, I remember this actor when you told me about him. I've seen him on, countless television shows. He's very familiar. When you see him, you recognize him from something.
And, of course, we have Madge Sinclair playing Black Widow. She was Eddie Murphy's mother and married to James Earl Jones in Coming to America.
Oh, yeah.
She was Simba's mother and married to James Earl Jones in The Lion King.
A cartoon.
Are lions married? Do they get married?
In the Disney movies, yeah.
She was nominated for 5 Emmys. 1 for playing Belle, John Amos Kunta Kinte's wife in the original Roots miniseries. 3 for playing Nurse Ernestine Shoup on Trapper John M.D.
I remember that, yeah. That was better than MASH. That show made sense. It wasn't silly.
And she won for playing Empress Josephine on Gabriel's Fire, a short-lived ABC early 90s series starring James Earl Jones.
I'd like to see that. I don't remember that show. I'd like to watch it, yeah.
Got your ears on good, buddy?
I hear you.
Are you okay? You need a meat wagon or something?
You need something else, you son of a bitch, once I get my hands on you.
Hey, until you get a little better control over that machinery, I'd suggest you lay off them acrobatics.
Yeah, well, listen. I'm going to have the state police in on this. And when we do, we're going to lunch on your ass, you son of a bitch.
I'm going to say Convoy is probably not one of Sam Peckinpah's top movies. I'm going to say that right now. I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but...
Why would you say that? Are you a film snob?
What?
Are you on film Twitter giving your film snob
No,
review
I
of
ain't no
Convoy?
film Twitter. If you like a Wild Bunch, I like Ride the High Country. That's one I like. I like Junior Bonner. There's some of her stuff too much for me, but this one just ain't as good as his good ones.
But this one has trucks in it.
The trucks I like, I ain't totally dismissing it. I'm just saying if you was up to me, what do you want to watch? Convoy or Junior Bonner? I'm going to say put on Junior Bonner. I like big trucks, but I like rodeos too.
Well, how many trucks are in Junior Bonner?
No, semi-trucks, maybe 2 or 3 driving by or something, but that ain't what it... No.
There's 100 semi-trucks.
I know. I like that part of it. I like that part of the movie. Okay, if you says, I want to watch me a trucker movie. I'm in the mood to watch a trucker movie. What's the best trucker movie there is? Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. If somebody says the best Sam Peckinpah trucker movie, then yes, this is the best.
This is definitely the best Sam Peckinpah trucker movie.
Definitely, without question. I ain't going to argue that with nobody.
I've never seen the Osterman Weekend, so I can't speak to that.
What is that one? I don't know.
I might have trucks in it for all I know.
I ain't ever seen that one. What's Cross of Iron? That's where all the Germans are good guys or something. I just thought I'd pass on that.
Let's see if we can get through the plot real fast of Convoy. Let me just say, I think I can rapidly
break it down for us. I want to hear it.
Starts out in a desert with Kristofferson flirting with Ally McGraw, who's in another vehicle. There's a shot of her crotch, a lingering shot of her crotch. Right. Starts off pretty early with a lingering. Lingering crotch shot. Ally McGraw's taking pictures of Kristofferson. They run a cop off a road. Then Kristofferson meets some trucker friends, and they get shook down by Ernest Borgnine. And then they go get something to eat. And then there's the longest, slowest bar fight ever.
Yeah.
And then they make a run for New Mexico on a dirt road with sand going everywhere. It's real pretty.
That's pretty part, yeah.
And then Ernest Borgnine crashes through a chicken barn.
Yep, that's good.
Oh, he steals a muscle car from some pot kids.
Yeah, they hadn't eat the drugs.
Eat the drugs. That's funny.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Then they other truckers say, hey, y'all are having fun. We're going to help too. One of them's dressed like Crocodile Dundee.
That's always good.
Then they all join up together, and then Rushmore's dad is the governor of New Mexico, and he's like, hey, I want to help you help me. And then they go give him a field to take a shower in. And then Spider Mike has to go see his pregnant wife, and he gets beat up in Texas. And then the trucks run over a town. And then an ice cream truck has a wreck, and Kristofferson gets blown up. Except
he tricked everybody. He's not really blown up. There's a big trucker funeral, but he's still alive.
And then everybody laughs after Ernest Borgnine.
Everybody's laughing at the end. There ain't nobody not laughing. Maybe, everybody thinks it's funny.
Let's start with the trucker funeral. That was pretty fast to get through the plot of a...
Well, there ain't a whole lot, yeah.
Is that what trucker funerals are like? They rent a stadium, and they have a coffin on the back of a truck, and then all the trucks drive by real slow? Do they have a mournful honk?
There
like
has
they
to
pull
be.
the thing, and it goes...
There has to be at least another trucker funeral of all the trucker movies that there are, and we ain't seen them all yet. I don't think I've seen my share.
We took a 6-month break from this podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it has to be at least 1 or 2 more somehow. It got to be a trucker funeral, but this is the only one that comes to my mind is this one. Yeah. There ain't a whole lot of people at that funeral either. You notice that? Like, there's a few people in the stands, but, there were, 800 trucks following, Rubber Duck? You think more truckers would show up to that funeral? He seemed pretty... If he was worth risking your livelihood, your life, you could be locked up in jail, you breaking the law, you didn't... but you was that dedicated to him. Seems like more truckers would have shown up to the funeral.
Truckers don't like to go to funerals. Truckers keep you in their hearts on the roads. They keep it between the lines. They keep it out of the ditches, and they keep you in their hearts out on the road.
I bet a lot of them was listening to the funeral on the CB.
Oh, I'm sure every truck just had the button clicked down.
Plus, it's a fake funeral.
Could you do that? Could you live stream trucker funerals on CB radios back in?
I don't know how it worked back in, yeah.
Better than damn Facebook. Facebook Living. Are people Facebook Living funerals now? They gotta be.
Facebook Living?
They gotta be Facebook Living funerals.
With Daddy Bush?
No, but just regular people funeral. Like, hey, Janet, can you Facebook Live this for Shirley? She's stuck in traffic.
Well, it was a fake funeral. I don't want to stress that again. Maybe they got word out to all the truckers. There ain't no point in showing up to, it ain't real.
I do like how seedy Kris Kristofferson is in this.
He's in like that in every movie, though, isn't he?
He is shirtless for about 2/3 of this movie, and it feels completely natural.
And how many times does he ask her for a T-shirt? I think he's asked her every now and then. He'll lean over, get back
shit,
there.
I'm supposed to get a T-shirt on.
Get back here and get my T-shirt. I guess she never does. Or she does it and he don't ever put it on.
I think they probably cut a bunch of scenes of her handing him a T-shirt and him just throwing them out the window. Why don't you get me another one while you're back there?
Yeah.
At the beginning, where Rubber Duck, Kris Kristofferson, meets Burt Young, Big Pen, Love Machine, and Franklyn Ajaye, Spider Mike, Franklyn Ajaye says, I've heard more stories about you than Jesse James. This is another movie where a trucker is famous.
But nobody really knows why.
And nobody knows why. And they say, I heard all these stories about you. Like, why aren't we making a movie about those stories?
That might have been better than this one. I'm just saying. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't understand why he was just legendary right out the gate. What does a trucker do to become legendary? Now, making a convoy like this, yes, definitely. But he's already famous before he even does his.
And then he made the convoy.
And then on top of it all.
But we don't know what he could have possibly done. At least in Smokey and the Bandit, there's a Jerry Reed song like talking about driving down Monteagle Mountain backwards. It tells you that the bandit has done a few things.
Sure.
Because in Smokey and the Bandit, he doesn't drive a truck. I mean, he drives over Jerry Reed's house, but that's
it. Yeah, he ain't behind the wheel of a rig, no. Another thing, Smokey and the Bandit, Jackie Gleason was funny. And then in this one here in Convoy, Ernest Borgnine is, I don't know, I can't really figure him out. I know he's bad.
In the beginning, it's supposed to seem like, I think it's hard to tell what the intentions are. He's sort of bad. Then he gets worse bad, but then at the end, he's supposed to be much, much less bad.
Yeah. But that happens, I think, more than that throughout the whole movie. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about him about half of the time in the movie. But
he's definitely racist. I think he's supposed to be less racist than the cop Tiny and Alvarez, but he's still racist.
Yeah.
But Jackie Gleason also is racist.
That's true.
But it's fucking the bad. They give you signals that this racism is supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Hopefully because he's a buffoon. Or worst reason is that they thought racism was funny.
Well, yeah.
In this one, the racism isn't supposed to be as funny.
At least
so does that make it better?
I don't know. They're trying to address it in a serious way, sorta. But then there's a fight right after that, and they're playing the music like they play under the fight in Hooper or something. It's just like you think this fight's supposed to be this big, heavy-weighted thing. Hell, it's shot that way. Like you said, slowest damn fight ever. People just crashing and banging, and then music's, beep, 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 beep.
What? Hey! Oh.
Wait!
Ryan!
See that? Put it on their bill.
This is one of many scenes throughout this movie that the tone just seems to be off in such a way that I really don't know how I'm supposed to take it. Or am I supposed to laugh at this? Because sometimes it seems a little silly, it seems funny. Then other times look like somebody getting thrown through a wall, glasses breaking.
They're all bloodied up. That is pretty lighthearted music for a scene that started out with police brutality against a black person.
Yeah.
But I will say that hearing it sounds pretty good. Like if you just played that for me, like, hey, I got a track I need you to hear, I'd be like, I want to see this fight.
Yeah, it sounds good, but it ain't that kind of movie that has that kind of music. It just doesn't seem like it has that kind of music. It should be like serious other Sam Peckinpah music, I guess.
If there is a SoundCloud that's just audio of fight scenes from movies, somebody shoot me that link because I'd like to hear it. I guess also, this is another movie. All trucker movies are just truckers fighting cops.
Pretty much.
That seems at odds with what's happening today. I guess there was a time when rednecks didn't like cops being mad at black people.
They stood up. There's a bunch of rednecks standing up for this character that the police are harassing. I mean, primarily because he's, black. That's what they're saying. They're making comments on that. And yeah, all these so-called good old boy rednecks, they stand up for that. They don't want the police behaving that way. Yeah.
I mean, Ernest Borgnine does come after all of them, but when he comes after Spider Mike, he's throwing the word boy around.
Yeah, he's making a point of it, yeah.
Yeah. So we have talked about this before, how in the 70s, in these trucker movies, the redneck audiences seem to really eat up the redneck heroes.
Nothing the redneck audience loved more in the 70s is seeing a policeman come out of a lake all wet, coming out of a crunched up car or whatever, shaking, oh, they got away again. That was one of the favorite things Southern audiences loved back then.
And so we were curious, and in our research for this, is it okay if I call what we do research, Jackie?
I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
I found a letter to the editor of the Salt Lake Tribune from October 29th, 1977, an anti-speed limit, the 55 mile an hour, the double nickel speed limit, which some people say is the genesis of this entire convoy phenomenon that we're doing a podcast on right now. And in this letter to the editor, Veldon Lauder says that no matter how many Smokies they put on the highways, this is something somebody sat down and wrote out, typed up probably. No matter how many Smokies they put on the highways, because people are going to travel 65 or 70 miles an hour because it is not unsafe and the people know it. They feel comfortable at their chosen speed and they're not going to change. But here's where Veldon really brings it home. The children of the United States have new heroes today. Rubber Duck of Convoy fame. The Bandit of Smokey and the Bandit, they say. Veldon, Rubber Duck of Convoy fame. The Bandit of Smokey and the Bandit. Very clear.
Yeah.
And others similar. This not only causes a lack of respect for the law, but actual disrespect for the law as a whole. This law is what is causing disrespect for the law. The speed limit is causing these movies, which is causing disrespect for the law. And back to the letter, they hear their parents cursing Smokey, who has just written them a ticket, possibly ruining their vacation. A good imagination. Yeah. It turns out Veldon Lauder actually worked for a travel agency. They hear their parents cursing Smokey, who has just written them a ticket, possibly ruining their vacation, and then driving off in a cloud of smoke after another unsuspecting citizen minding his own business.
Yeah.
Nowadays we'd say his or her, or their, possibly.
Their business.
One of the few things left from the Nixon, in parentheses, Watergate, era is the speed limit. I remember about a year ago, anyway, so then it goes on and on. But I like that Veldon Lauder was ahead of the curve being this podcast, and figuring out how redneck, possibly conservative, possibly law-abiding, law-protecting, giving money to the policeman's charity luncheon how come they like to see Jackie Gleason get all wet in the lake and every cop get a speedboat right over their heads and fall and trip up in the fishing line, get mud on them, wet, just so wet, every outfit they got, just wet, their badges wet, soaking wet. And I think it's federal overreach.
What would the police do then if they weren't? What would the Smokies do if they weren't pulling over speeders? I mean, that's what they do in these movies. Then you just take the whole plot out of all of it. You wouldn't have trucker movies. Is that worth the respecting the police and the law by changing the speed limit, or is it better to keep it the way it is so we can watch them all get wet?
I wish Veldon Lauder was still alive today so that we could ask them. And if they are alive, I wish we had their phone number so that we could call them up and ask them.
Yeah, if anybody knows, tell us how to get in touch with Veldon.
And if anyone knows how to do interviews on a podcast, also let us know that.
Yeah, we don't know what buttons to push. Getting back to the movie now, I think one of the waitresses that works at the this trucker down, I guess, the hell tore out of it, is married to Ernest Borgnine.
I wouldn't have thought that until we listened to the commentary on this with some Peckinpah nerds.
Yeah.
And they're saying that, is he supposed to be married to her? And people are like, I don't know. The waitress that Rubber Duck is doing it with.
Well, things happen. He takes her out to the truck, yeah.
We don't know. They were saying it seems like Ernest Borgnine is supposed to be married to her. That part of the history between Rubber Duck and Ernest Borgnine's character is that he's been doing it to his wife.
Baby, don't be like that. You know my heart belongs to you, Violet.
Oh, yeah, sure, for about one hot second.
Hey, well, it's not my fault, is it now? When you gonna get rid of that sorry old man of yours?
He's not so sorry. He's just had a little hard luck, that's all.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the very worst part of it, ain't I?
So is he talking about her sorry old man being Ernest Borgnine?
Now, the way I looked at this movie, now, while this is going on, he's going out to do it, they're going to get up to no good, nasty business out in his truck cab.
Are you talking about having sex?
Yes.
That's how you describe sex in a truck?
No,
You're probably right.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, when he's out there, Ernest Borgnine's coming in. This when he starts being mean to his friends and goes after, Spider Mike. Now, while he's in there walking around, people say, you better get in here quick, talking to Kris Kristofferson, Rubber Duck. They're saying, you get in here. They're on the CB letting him know he's here. You better get in here.
Which is annoying when you're trying to fuck somebody.
Hey, watch your mouth. You don't say it that way. But what you originally think is, they just need him in here because he can handle, Dirty Lyle. He's the only one, because earlier in the movie we see him, they'll have to pay him off, and Kris Kristofferson kind of maneuvers around that and keeps it from getting worse than it could. So you think, get in here and, make this situation a bit less, take it down a notch or two. Get in here and handle him because he's coming in here. But now it seems like maybe get in here. You better get in here if he finds out that his wife.
Because he's in there looking. Where's Rubber Duck? That's the first thing he says. You think he's going to be mad at Burt Young and Franklyn Ajaye for being on the radio calling him fat. First of all, Burt Young should never call anybody fat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm supposed to make me laugh and get mad at Ernest Borgnine and be like, Burt Young's really giving it to him. But I'm like, Burt Young, you're fat too.
Yeah.
Ooh, you got fat belly. So if you look at it like that, like they're together, they're saying, hey, Rubber Duck, get in here because Ernest Borgnine's going to know you're throwing it to his wife. And then when his wife comes in, if it's his wife comes in and quotes, when he's handcuffed to the stool, she lifts the stool off and he's like, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Like, why would he talk to her later? That doesn't really change anything in Convoy. It's not like the revelation that suddenly you're like, oh, it's a good movie.
Because they was married.
It doesn't add more trucks to it or more explosions or more slow motion. I don't know that it would even change anything in their performance. Although I would say it's a little weird to be coming in after Ernest Borgnine.
What?
Like when they're doing it, do you think he's saying...
All right, just shut your mouth.
Is this how old Lyle...
Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear it.
Hey, is this how old Lyle does it to you?
Just shut your mouth.
Hey, tell me how old Lyle does it.
Oh, I don't want to talk about Kris Kristofferson in the truck doing anything to anybody.
Show me that thing you do to old Lyle.
All right, just enough.
Do that thing to Lyle.
Just enough. Well, I'm glad if that was what it's going to be, I'm glad that they left that out then, that they ain't married. What does it matter? It just makes it more confusing when you watch it later after, in hindsight, somebody says, oh, yeah, they were supposed to be married. And I'm like, what? It didn't make much sense before. Now it makes less sense now.
I would like to see a Convoy 3 where Ernest Borgnine plays Kris Kristofferson.
What?
Another plot point in this movie is that Spider Mike's wife is having a baby, and at a certain point, he leaves the convoy to go see his new son.
He's actually, besides getting beat up, he's actually kind of lucky leaving what he did because he don't have to shower with the rest of them because that's what happens when he's gone.
So, before they get to the shower field,
yeah,
was that really were people just concerned that the truckers were too filthy? The governor of New Mexico sends somebody out that you think is a reporter, but it turns out the second time we watched this, yes.
Who is he?
We watched it 2 times.
Who is he talking to? The first thing, like, look back for miles and miles. You can see, folks, people, watch it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a lot of trucks.
You think he's a reporter talking on the news. It's like he's
There's a film crew. There's cameras.
Yeah.
Sam Peckinpah is one of the crew members.
But then when he introduces himself to Kris Kristofferson, Rubber Duck, he's like, I work for the governor. What is he, his assistant? What the hell is he?
He does say something like a press representative or something, so none of it really makes sense. But that's par for the course in Convoy.
Well, part of making truckers happy or whatever, the governor concerned with them, I guess, is, pull over here in this field, we're going to hose all of you off.
And they're into it. They're like, all right. They go to a field, and the governor's going to come meet with Rubber Duck, and they go to a field in New Mexico where they shower with their clothes on.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they had the clothes. Kris Kristofferson ain't got a shirt on, but yeah, everybody else, yeah.
For a trucker movie in the 70s in hot-ass Arizona and New Mexico in the desert in 1978, I'm really surprised we didn't see Ernest Borgnine with his shirt on.
All right.
I'm really surprised.
He wasn't there. He's a place like this for truckers to hose off.
Like, I'm burning up out here. So anyway, Spider Mike, before they get to the shower field, he leaves the convoy.
He's lucky. He misses that, yeah.
To go see his son in Texas, I guess. So he's on his way to Texas, and Ernest Borgnine chases after him, and they catch him in Texas. But because he loves his child, he is a weak-ass character. Kris Kristofferson, Rubber Duck, the hero of the story, tells Ally McGraw, poor Ally McGraw, I would hate, if I had to switch places with anybody in this movie, I would not want to switch with Ally McGraw.
Yeah.
I am positive, had a terrible, terrible time.
From what they say, nobody was having a good time making
Nobody was having a good time on this movie, but do you want Kris Kristofferson nuzzling up to you and making up lines? Just nuzzle up to her and make up something to say. That's what Sam Peckinpah would tell her if he was shooting that day. It might have been James Coburn. So anyway, if you show love for your children and your family in this movie, you are weak. If you are strong like Kris Kristofferson, you tell Ally McGraw, I got a couple of kids in Spokane.
They got a good mama. She taking care of them.
You get to see them? I think I've seen them once.
Every now and then, yeah.
I've seen a picture. In real life? No, I never seen him.
That's the leader of the convoy. He's
the hero.
He's up front.
Got a couple of kids in Spokane, shirtless, riding around with Ally McGraw, who has to be let off. By the way, he basically kidnaps Ally McGraw.
Well, he does ask her now. Give him credit. He does. Before she gets in the truck, he makes sure it's okay.
You ever ride in a truck?
No.
Do you want to?
Maybe.
Now, is that consent?
Maybe for truck riding. I'm pretty sure that she specifically demands to be let out later in the movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no.
But then when he's about to supposedly sacrifice his life, kill himself, she wants to stay in the car. Then he tells her to get out. She's like, no, I want to stay.
And then he throws her shit out.
Yeah, and then we got to watch her run in slow motion.
Earlier, she's like, man act. He's like, that don't apply to you. It's all very Sam Peckinpah. You want to go? Maybe. Let me out. Sit your ass down. Let me stay. Get the hell out.
Yeah. That's kind of running theme, yeah.
Listen. Don't take your cues for sexual politics in 2019 from a Sam Peckinpah movie. Don't take any cues from a Sam Peckinpah movie.
Don't matter.
But especially when it comes to how we treat women.
I think people knew back then watching a Sam Peckinpah movie in the 70s, like, hell, you don't treat a woman like that. I mean, I don't know any time where any of that was acceptable as far as I'm concerned.
I also like how he's hauling chemicals through the entire movie, and we just don't find out about it till it's important to the plot. It feels like somebody should have said, You got more of them chemicals? Maybe he says it in the newly recorded version of Convoy, and I just don't understand the trucker slang.
Yeah, that could be it. Kris Kristofferson sometimes is hard to understand. You know, it's what it sounds like sometimes. He says he's got chemicals in the first roadblock, but that's still good ways into the movie before we know what the hell he's hollering. We know what Love Machine, Pigpen's hollering, pigs. But yeah, Rubber Duck don't ever say, oh, by the way, I got chemicals in the back till, you know, they're about to run through a roadblock.
We didn't talk about the towel cop at the shower field. There's one cop who I guess his job is just to hand truckers towels.
Yeah, he's a good one. Yeah,
or maybe he's there to make sure they don't take too many. Maybe Seymour Cassell is like, all right, I'll let them shower, but 1 towel per trucker. I want Jennings, you get out there and make sure them truckers. Or maybe he was really concerned about Jennings. If one trucker's balls are wet when they leave that shower, you're back on desk duty or whatever Jennings wouldn't want. I don't know. Is Jennings a good name for a towel cop?
I guess. I didn't catch his name. He don't say nothing. He just doing his job, handing out towels. Now, one thing about Convoy for sure is there are some good stunts in it, and I like to watch some car crashes and car chase. There's some good stuff in this. It's definitely worth seeing for that. And evidently, from what we understand, what we learned, a lot of these stunts, or about half of them, were caught on film by accident.
I guess when Black Widow's truck flips over, that was an accident. And when Ernest Borgnine's car goes through the chicken barn, it was supposed to land in the chicken barn. Instead, it overshoots about.
Oh, that car just goes flying. It clips the roof of the barn, and it just goes on and on. Yeah,
the stunts are good and all by accident.
Well, thank goodness, as far as we know, nobody died on it. I don't think we didn't hear that anywhere anyway.
I guess if you've got that much cocaine going through you, you can crash a car like 500 yards past where it was supposed to land and jump out and go like, all right, let's do it again. Like, you can be missing a few limbs.
Hey, Lyle, you're going to be one of us pretty soon, you know.
How's that?
Ain't you heard? The Teamsters are going to be organizing the cops.
Not this one. I don't want no part of your damn union.
It ain't my damn union, Lyle. I'm independent, remember?
At least we got one thing in common.
2. There ain't many of us left.
Now, there's some dialogue like that throughout this here movie that where you're talking about significant things. You're talking about, you know, the working man being independent, unionized, and becoming obsolete.
The last of your kind, cowboys out on the range,
right.
The American frontier, race, the gas crisis, the government double nickeling you, stepping in, closing their fists on America's speed limits, government overreach, the damn women and the trucking industry, and they bring up so many weighty, important issues in this movie that don't matter at all.
No.
I mean, in the end, none of it makes any sense.
None of that in this movie. None of it makes any sense. I don't understand why the government wants to get with him. He wants the truckers to help him. He seems like he's going to come off good to the truckers. He's a governor. He wants to be a senator. He thinks that's going to help his political career. By showering them off in a field, I don't know what else does it do for him.
I can help you and you can help me. It says things like that. Like, truckers don't like government employees pretending to be news reporters.
Yep.
They don't like governors.
Nope.
They sort of like governors. They think, well, maybe he can help us because he sees it. So there's something. Like, they try to explain that why Kris Kristofferson will talk to him. Like, well, he sees something in us that he thinks he can use and makes him worth talking. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
Then Seymour Cassell comes in. He flies choppers into the shower field. Which that water runoff, that muddy water that they just showered off the convoy truckers, has got to be toxic.
Oh, good
Lord. That's seeping down into the water supply.
That's dangerous for the public, yeah.
They probably couldn't drink that water in southern New Mexico for years and years. No. That's like, damn.
Aaron Brockovich had to get out there.
It's like Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah. Well, the politicians and the truckers get together out in the field. Everybody gets hosed off, and they seems like something's going to happen. This is the beginning of something. It's going to be a new era in trucker, existence after this moment. But then word gets to them that Spider Mike's been holed up in a jail in Texas, and before Kris Kristofferson can sit down and deal with the first thing he says, get my buddy out of jail. And he said, well, I can't do that. He said, well, hell, you ain't no good to me.
He's fine with everything when it doesn't make any sense and they don't actually need anything from him.
Yeah.
He's like, you've got a lot of issues that don't matter, but I'll take them to Washington.
Yeah.
But then Kris Kristofferson's like, hey, my buddy's down in Texas getting beat up. Can you help him out? He's like, grow up. He tells a bunch of truckers
Pretty much, yeah.
who just showered with their clothes on in a field, like, all of you, I can't help that. I can't just let people out of jail. You're the governor. That's what you do in movies.
Pardon people, yeah.
Yeah, somebody's in jail, and they wait for your call. That's
Clemency,
all governors
yeah.
do
Yeah.
in movies, is let people out of jail.
And
this one.
And this, he didn't kill nobody. Spider Mike, pretty much the only thing he was black as far as Ernest Borgnine. He did call him. He was fat, but still, that's
You
still
can't
no
put
excuse.
people. If you could put people in jail for calling you fat, I'd have thrown so many people in jail.
Well, yeah. Well, Ernest Borgnine.
That's true. He's like, I can't get these people out of jail. These innocent black people out of jail. I can't. I guess that's what governors used to say. Actually,
yeah, they did say that a lot.
That is actually probably
yeah.
that did get said a lot actually.
But so the first thing with Spider Mike, when Ernest Borgnine is messing with him before the slowest fight in the world. It's like, I'm taking in for Vegas. Said, don't take him in. His wife is pregnant, so now he knows he's going to get a wife. So when he gets there, you're led to believe that Ernest Borgnine, he got some race issues. He's a little bit racist. But when he gets there, he sees that the police there that caught him had beat the whole hell out of him. He bleeding out of his face everywhere.
That's terrible. Looks worse than Creed.
It does look. It's rough. It looks awful. And then Ernest Borgnine, he feels bad about it. I don't understand.
I guess he's supposed to be less bad for some reason
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about him half the time. First you're saying he's a racist, and he said, well, he's not racist enough where he wants to beat people up or people to get hurt. Well, he was trying to put somebody in jail. It don't make any sense to me. That part don't.
The 70s were had a hard time figuring out. The 70s had a hard time figuring out where they stood on race. How about the 90s? These movies, I think, how about the today's?
Keep going, yeah.
These movies seem to be, actually, when I said the 90s just then, I was thinking that this was the 90s.
No.
That's where my brain had gone.
No.
Like, you think the 70s were bad? How about today, 1996, just as bad?
No.
This is stuff you would cut out of a podcast if you did more cutting out of podcasts. We should probably do that. But today, we seem to have gone backwards because there's plenty of people who I think would just be cheering on Ernest Borgnine from the beginning.
I know. Don't make a bit of sense. Everything back
in the 70s, they may not have had all the notes right on this solo they were playing, but the name of the solo was Racism is Bad.
Yeah.
That everything may not have connected in these movies, but they were at least under the heading Racism is Bad. Nowadays, lots of people are like, racism's fine.
Sadly, that's true.
I think the tone of this podcast is all over the place.
Now, in the jail, where they're holding Spider Mike and beating him up and on, there's a janitor who I'm assuming is a janitor because he's just mopping up at works there. And then he says, hey, are you with that convoy? And, of course, Spider Mike nods yes, goes, well, I'm going to get you some help. Now, at first I thought, well, he's in cahoots with Ernest Borgnine and the other because they said they're going to use him for bait. So what they do is call down there and tell him, we got him here. But I don't think that's the case because later on he seems like he's happy that, they tore up a damn police station.
Either way, even if he is just a pawn in their game or if he takes it upon himself, the whole plot of this movie hinges upon a janitor who seems like something's wrong with him. Maybe he'd been in a car accident or got hit in the head by a limb from a tree.
Yeah.
He seems a little addled. That janitor holds the keys to the whole rest of this movie because they're just sitting around playing cards like, well, they're going to find out somehow. I'm thinking the janitor's going to see B. He seems to really like Spider Mike.
Well, even if this is their plan, it still don't make any sense because he shows up in a truck and runs over them like they know that they're coming, and I think they set up later, well, I thought it was just going to be him in that truck.
Yes, Kristofferson's supposed to come because of the Peckinpah movie Man Code. Kris Kristofferson betrays that code because he brings his friends.
But he's got somebody with him everywhere. He's never by himself till the very end, and the only reason that's because there's a wreck with an ice cream truck. But other than that, he's got trucks behind him. He got Alan McGraw in the cab with him. He's got all these trucks behind him. What made Ernest Borgnine think, well, now he's going to show up all by himself? Until he shows up, I'm going to sit here and play cards.
He says, this is between you and me. You knew this. And Kris Kristofferson says, they came on their own because you can't mess with the individual will of the people. The government can't change the speed limit, and Ernest Borgnine can't make you come alone if your friends want to tag.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, he did come alone. Couldn't he have run over that police station? How many trucks ran into it? I remember one of them running into, they were running into stuff all over the town. I guess maybe you keep the police occupied or something. But the police were just sitting there playing damn cards. Like, now we got him.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan was.
None of that makes any sense. And here's something else. Of course, the other policeman sees all the trucks tearing up the town. He gets scared, leaves Ernest Borgnine there by himself. And Ernest Borgnine starts to look around and see that all these trucks are coming at him. They're going, he is in a pickle. He runs back into the police station, grabs the phone, knowing that they're about to plow into the police station, and goes, hits 0, I'm assuming it says, operator.
Maybe in the 70s you just called the operator for everything.
Well, what were they going to do? He knew they were about to run him over in the building. He gets on the phone and says, screams, operator.
That is the movie. He's going, operator. The truck come into the
Who is he calling? Who could he have possibly called to prevent the trucks that are rambling toward the building, about to demolish it? Moments away, minutes away. Quick, I got to get to the phone. Operator.
I would have ducked under a desk. I would have maybe gone back into one of the cells to keep myself from being smashed by a truck.
That's another thing. How did they must have known the layout to that police station, because they could have killed Spider Mike. They really could have.
Nobody thinks about Spider Mike. Nobody's giving Spider Mike much of a thought. Like when Spider Mike peels off to go to Texas to see his baby, Kris Kristofferson says, well, hope he makes it. He'll be fine. I got kids in Spokane. I don't even know how old they are. Spider Mike's going to be fine. I've spent more time with Spider Mike in this movie than I ever have my kids.
Well, after this whole...
And at the end, he feels bad for Spider Mike. He's like, I'm sorry you got beat up. I hate when other people pay my dues. Well, gotta go. Get to the truck.
I knew you'd come. But I never figured you'd need help, too.
I didn't bring nobody. They came on their own.
This is between you and me. You knew it. Now look what you've done. Nothing but a two-bit lying, cheating, law-breaking trucker.
What the hell are you? Take a look at yourself. Just a broke-down old bribe-taking piece of meanness. You tell me, old man, what good are you?
I am the law. Don't you understand? I represent the law.
Well, piss on you. And piss on your law.
This was a movie that Kris Kristofferson's in with Ernest Borgnine with trucks in it that kids went to see in the 70s. And now people are mad because you kneel at a football game. Kris Kristofferson just said to a cop, piss on you and piss on the law. Piss on the law is what Kris Kristofferson, Sunday morning coming down.
Hero of the movie.
He is an outlaw country man.
That's true. He's outlaw. Definitely.
He's outlaw country man.
Yeah, he is.
And right after this, Ernest Borgnine's like, I'd shoot you down if I had my gun. Like, where's his gun?
You're
I don't have a gun.
He had cards sitting out playing cards at the beginning. You said, I knew you'd come. If you knew he was coming, why are you sitting around playing cards? Be ready. He got a semi-truck. He could run over. Yep, anyway.
Did he drop it when the trucks crashed it? Has he not had a gun since they kicked it away in the slow bar fight?
I don't know.
Has he been driving? Did he drive to Texas without a gun? That's privilege.
He could have lost it at any of those car wrecks he was in, actually. He got squished by some trucks, and then they went through a barn.
Remember when he got that friend, his cop friend?
My name is Bob Bookman, sir, and I hate truckers.
Yeah, he loses him after he accuses him of going to the bathroom in his drawers.
But before he kicked him out of the car for shitting his pants, he should have said, hey, let me borrow your gun.
Yeah.
There's that other cop with the glasses who gets behind the water truck.
Can't drive around it for whatever reasons, but yeah.
After watching this 2 or 3 times, that scene's starting to grow on me.
It is. I'm going to say, the first time, I couldn't quite figure it out. I didn't know what it's supposed to mean something. Is it not supposed to? Because I ain't seen this in years. Is it supposed to, what is it supposed to be doing? And kind of left it, I don't know how I feel about this, because I don't know. But this second time I watch it, I kind of had a good time with it, I have to say. Because I knew I didn't have any expectations. I already know that none of this means anything. Which, of course, some people, I'm assuming, have that attitude going to a trucker movie, but they're not always right about that.
Maybe those people who put less into the trucking movies have less expectations. Maybe they're enjoying these trucker movies a lot more. Maybe the ones who don't start podcasts about them just go into it with a better time. Like when you see that old couple in the old jalopy, the Archie Andrews 1920s jalopy, and you see them and the truck's coming, you're like, well, it's a Sam Peckinpah movie with slow motion in it. They're probably about to get violently gunned down.
Yeah.
But no, they just shake their fists comically.
Yeah. And the music plays as such, like, wah, wah, with that sort of thing. But, yeah. Sam
he was
Peckinpah.
trying. He was like, this would be funny if an old car with an old couple in it. Or maybe that was the day that he was in the trailer tried to find his nose. Hey, also, I think we started off talking about the funeral. I think we can wrap it up talking about the funeral, Jackie. I have a question.
Yeah.
When Seymour Cassell, Jimmy Carter is talking at the trucker funeral.
Right.
And everybody's there to pay their respects to Rubber Duck.
Yep.
Why is the guy who killed him there?
It don't make any bit of sense. Why is Ernest Borgnine, Dirty Lyle, sitting there beside? First off, he's putting on a show. We know Jimmy Carter, governor, he don't give a damn about these truckers. Okay, he kind of does, but not enough anyway.
We're not sure.
Yeah, we're not really sure. But for the most part, we know that because he even says it up there, I'm going to take this to the Senate and on and on and on. If you're trying to make good in front of all these truckers, you probably shouldn't have the man beside you that murdered him. He didn't really murder him, but he thought he did.
Yeah,
everybody thought he was dead.
Attempted murder.
That's why everybody was there at the funeral. As many truckers that did decide to show up.
It's a funeral because they think he's dead. We're pretty sure.
I think so, yeah.
So even if they either think that he killed him, or if, let's just say, all the truckers CB'd each other that he was actually alive, and on the Chartreuse microbus, that he still tried to kill him. So even if you're at a funeral for somebody who's not dead, but the person who tried to kill you is there, that's still bad form.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know if like Miss Manners ever wrote about it, but how would she?
Well, all I'm saying, though, maybe things would have turned out different if that ice cream truck hadn't wrecked and all the other trucks could have been there with him before they blew him out, blowed him up.
Also, that scene where the school bus pulls out, it's like, okay, kids, school time, and there's like one load of kids running that way, another load of kids running. That's not how school buses work.
No.
Like, none of that makes any sense. The guy's there, I guess, to protect school time to protect the kids, but he's really just letting them dart across the road.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that ice cream truck comes from when Burt Young runs into it. Also, if Burt Young in real life ran into an ice cream truck and there's ice cream all over the road, Burt Young would be like, oh boy, free ice cream. And he'd jump out of the truck and his face would be covered with ice cream. But instead he just sits there going like, hey, Rubber Duck, we got a little problem here. I don't know if we're going to be able to make it to the...
Yeah, that's always funny. Rubber Duck doesn't even ask him like why or anything.
No, it's a conversation.
Have the whole conversation. Well, too bad you can't be here tonight. Oh, what happened? Ice cream truck fell all up, but no, nothing.
That's a funny story.
I would want to say
listen,
that.
I just wrecked into an ice cream truck because the school bus stopped. Oh, can you believe it? We made it this far, and shit. Well, sorry. But instead they have to talk. Oh, man, it must be exhausting to be a man in a Peckinpah movie. Like, hey, we got a problem here. Ain't no time to be having problems. There's nothing we can handle. See you later. I don't know. Okay, well, everything's got to be symbolic and stoic. Yeah. Jesus.
That whole ice cream truck school wreck, that doesn't seem like Sam Peckinpah directed that part of the movie. It seemed like somebody just had to come in and make that up. Well, why weren't they there with him, and they had to go back 2 weeks later, and it just don't feel like any other part of the movie.
Now, I think they had to get James Coburn or somebody to show up, and maybe James Coburn really likes ice cream.
Could be. Maybe
they were like, hey, nobody wants to come. We got to film a new scene for the end, but nobody wants to come work on this movie again. How can we get them here? How about free ice cream?
Count Burt Young in. That's the most important one.
What, do we have a plot to make this all work while the other trucker's snowing on the bridge? Hey, if we're getting an ice cream truck already, why don't we just have Burt Young run into it? Oh, that's funny. And then he jumps out and eats all the ice cream? No. It's still a Sam Peckinpah, in quotes, Sam Peckinpah movie.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to enjoy anything.
Not one of the better Sam Peckinpah movies, but you know what I'm going to say? It has its moments. Now, like I said, coming back to it, knowing none of this means a damn thing, even though it wants to mean something, it don't have to, and you just sit back and watch the trucks run around. Sure, I'd like Kris Kristofferson to probably put on a shirt sooner than it does, but,
he's in good shape.
He is in good shape. Nothing wrong with that.
I don't mind looking at it. I'll be honest.
Well, he just look like he's stinking, but then again, we think they're all stinking, but then when they're showering them off in the field, that ain't no good either. That don't help.
No, somebody who looks like they stink and then you see them wet doesn't make nothing better. And that's the lesson we learned from Sam Peckinpah's 1978 movie, Convoy.
Hey, thank you kindly for listening to us here on Redneck Matinee.
Whatever podcast place you're listening to this at, please give us a rating and a review.
And if you want to hear us cuss at Trump, go over to listen to us on the Red State Update podcast.
And if you really liked us, please go over to the Red State Update Patreon and give us a little jingle jangle.
Thank you kindly.